Alright, hey, what's up? My name's Ed, sometimes they call me Fast Eddy, dentist. I'm gonna give you a little crash course on some of the industry standards for tattooing, why I use certain things over other things, and what the importance are of most of these materials. So first off, I like to use a machine called the Sidewinder. It's made by a machine builder by the name of Dan Cuban with a collaboration of Workhorse irons. It is basically a rotary machine because it has a side cam with a rotary motor. However, it does use an armature bar concept, which is the same thing with a coil machine. So some of the first original tattoo machines would have an armature bar that would connect to the bar and needle, and that's what basically would drive the pushing force of that needle. So this machine has the same kind of mechanics to that, but the way he's engineered it, it uses a rotary, which theoretically making this a rotary machine. Next we have the power supply. This is basically what provides the tattoo machine its voltage and its power. You can see the different dial here will kind of adjust and change that. When it comes to using a machine like this, you can actually tap into the frequency and make it go a little softer, make it go a little harder. Typically with an old school style machine, it's either kind of on or off. So the beautiful thing about this is that you still have the consistency of an old school machine, but you're able to kind of dial it in using the power supply. This particular power supply is actually a rechargeable one made by Freedom Electrics. So it's an independent power supply builder, I want to say in Georgia, but you can find them on Instagram. They basically allow you to have about 10 solid hours of tattoo time without being directly plugged into the wall. So not that I'm typically tattooing without electricity, but if there were to be a power outage, or if you wanted to go with some friends safely in the wilderness and do some tattoos, then you'd be able to do things like that. Or best case reason would be if you're traveling and you're doing a guest pop-up at a convention, somewhere where there's not necessarily an easily accessible outlet. Next, I've got the clip cord. This is basically what supplies the power to the machine, and then you're able to control the voltage. There's a positive and negative to each side. And basically, when you're putting it into the machine, you want to anchor it in the bottom first, anchor it into the top, and it kind of clips in, hence the name clip cord. And that's basically what's running and supplying your power to the machine from the power supply. Next up, we've got my favorite liner. It's a traditional 9 liner, which means that the needle grouping is not going to be bug pin. It's going to be a little bit more of a looser open gauge, hence the traditional name, because traditional tattoos typically have that kind of like wider, thicker, brush stroke. So this needle grouping is going to kind of allow that to happen. Also not being too intrusive to the skin. If you're trying to condense a bunch of needle groupings into one spot at one time, sometimes the skin can react a little bit to that. So I like this because it almost combs into the skin. It allows a little bit more breathability. So that's my standard needle that I typically use. So another crucial component to all of this are the tubes. So the tubes are basically what you're holding onto. It's the part that clips into the machine, slides into the vise, and then the needle will kind of go between all of that, hooking on top of the armature bar. So putting it all in kind of a linear perspective, the needle will sit in between all of that. Basically, when you're holding the tube, that's what's allowing you to control the depth of how far the needle's coming out. Hence the reason, you don't go too deep or too shallow in the skin, allowing it to kind of, hit right where you need it to hit. Obviously, some of the other crucial components would be things like ink caps, rubber bands to maintain tension for the machines, a alcohol-based green soap, a skin oil barrier, so I usually use Aquaphor, and then a decent quality black ink. I typically recommend a triple black dynamic ink. It tends to last the longest and stay really vibrant and bold, and the blacks tend to really stay black. So basically these are all the things and materials you're going to need to do and use and practice if you're going to be a tattooer and do it professionally and safely. The most important factors are definitely going to be the safety element, because you're bringing in people and they're trusting you with your work, and you want to make sure that you're safe and clean. So make sure you follow all of these steps. I'm Ed, Dentist PDX. Thank you for watching.